Good morning, dear scientists. The title of our report is Software Development of Thermal Resistance Calculator for Thermal Insulation Parameters Determines Dielectric Building Structures. The actuality of research. Digitalization of all spheres of public of life and industry requires the development of appropriated tools. One of the most important branches of industry in Ukraine is the construction industry, because after the war it will be necessary to rebuild hundreds of destroyed cities and villages, to rebuild thousands of houses. Thermal insulation of buildings is an important part of construction. Both civil engineers and ordinary workers in the construction industry will carry out such work. The training of specialists in the construction industry is carried out by institutions of higher and professional pre-higher education. That's why the ability to perform thermal insulation calculations is an important component of the professional competence of civil engineer. The creation of thermal insulation begins with its calculations. Such calculations are usually carried out manually, and at the same time, there are thermal resistance calculations that are advisable to use the process of calculation of the thermal insulation parameters of buildings and structures. To calculate the parameters of thermal insulation, one can use general purpose application software, automated design systems, or existing thermal conductivity calculation. The use of software or the specific categories has its advantages and disadvantages. Computational method. The dielectrics have several mechanisms that determine thermal conductivity and a number of processes that limit the effectiveness of each of the mechanisms. In the classical Debian model, the thermal conductivity of dielectric can be presented by expression. In practice, a simplified idea of possibility of independent separation of the contribution of each of the phonon scattering mechanism of total thermal resistance and determination of the combined phonon relaxation time is often used. Considering that different mechanisms of dielectric can be determined as for full thermal resistance of thermal homogeneous and not homogeneous opaque and closing structures, for thermal resistance of structures with defined values of linear heat transfer coefficient or thermal conducting inclusions, results and discussion. Starting with the design of the thermal resistance calculator, we will analyze the functionality and interface of most common programs of this purpose. A search of relevant software for such software products as a Rockwood U-value calculator, Kingspan U-value calculator, and others. This advantages of Rockwool U-value calculator: variability of structural and thermal insulation material, intuitive interface, multilingual interface, disadvantages: not compliance with the state building regulation of Ukraine, uncontrollability. Kingspan U-value calculator, disadvantages: thermal conductivity is calculated, not thermal resistance, lack of control, resource of which the Kingspan U-value calculator is located, a set of thermal insulation materials from Kingspan. According to the state building regulations, main type of calculations are a calculation of the thermal resistance of the wall, calculation of the thermal resistance of the window, calculation of the thermal resistance of the attic floor, calculation of the thermal resistance of the roof overlap. Functional model of ThermoResist, the initial data initialization model, the module for calculation the wall thermal resistance, the module for calculation the window thermal resistance, the module for calculation the attic floor thermal resistance, the module for calculation the roof overlap thermal resistance. The class diagram of ThermoResist thermal resistance calculator program is shown on figure 1. System requirements of the program: monitor resolution 800 to 900, Microsoft Windows 10 or 11 operation system, net framework 4 and higher. The programming language C# was chosen for the implementation of the program. The creation and compilation of the program code was carried out in the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 program development environment. The interface of ThermoResist thermal calculation is shown on figure 2. Calculation of thermal resistance of the wall using the ThermoResist program is shown on figure 3. Conclusions. The digitization of sociality involves digitalization of all aspects of social life. They developed a ThermoResist thermal resistance calculator for dielectric building structures, has an intuitive interface, a methodology, and a sequence of calculation would comply with the state building regulation in Ukraine. Thanks to this, basic computer user skills are enough to use this calculator, so it can be used by both students and civil engineers. Unlike many software products, it calculated thermal resistance according to the methodology given in the state building regulations and enabled to calculation of the thermal resistance of the following categories of structures: walls, windows, attic floor, and roof according to indicator specified in the state building regulations. The presented result will be useful for implementation in the educational process. Thank you for attention.